All right, here's a review of just a couple figures I found and picked up on the way into work. One I was actively looking for, and another that was there, and I figured I'd get it. I don't collect a whole lot of Star Wars figures. If you remember me talking about that in my Han and Luke Stormtrooper disguise, guys, these are the 3.75-inch scale figures, and I think right now these may be the only Star Wars figures in this scale that I own. First off is Clone Commander Doom here, who I've been looking for a while because it's very clearly a Dr. Doom homage as a clone commander. And I like how they use the clone trooper helmets to evoke Dr. Doom's face mask with the cowl on. So yeah, it's just a nice little homage to Dr. Doom. It's a cool looking figure. I've been looking for it. Found it at Walmart. There's a new end cap at Walmart with a bunch of the new Star Wars black figures on it. I think they're like $12.88 each. Like, the price on these keeps going up. I don't know that I'm going to spend a lot of money on a whole collection of these, but these guys are pretty cool. So yeah, he's just a little Dr. Doom based homage, which I've said. His head is on a little ball joint here. He's got the universal shoulders. He's got a swivel right above the elbow, hinge elbow. He does have hinged wrists as well as rotating wrist joints. So that's nice. He does have a waist swivel. They built that, and at first I thought he didn't because it was kind of seamlessly sitting against his belt, but now that I moved it, you can see it. He does have leg articulation there at the hip. It's slightly hindered by these rubber pieces on the side, but actually not as much as I thought. You can actually get the full range of movement out of them. They just kind of push this side piece to the side. He's got a swivel and a hinge at the knee, and he actually does have a hinge and swivel on his feet. The swivel you can actually use fairly effectively. The hinge on his feet, it's kind of blocked by this armor here on the back of his calf. So while he can bend his foot forward, you can't get a whole lot of back motion without bending that piece. And then even then, it just kind of wants to push the foot back into a flat standing position. But he does stand okay. And you can, like I said, you can kind of tilt his feet out as well as rotate them there at the knee. But you don't get a whole lot of front to back posability, at least certainly not to back on the foot. But neat little homage. These are his minions, the Jawas. They come in a 2-pack. This one is Dick, and this one is Dick Jr. I've decided because they're his minions. It'll make sense if you think about it. And these Jawas are actually really great. Like I said, you got 2 figures in a pack for $13, and while they're small figures, I justified it because it's 2 figures. So yeah, so our posability, they both have the same level of articulation here. They actually have a ball-jointed head, and while the cowl does limit some poses, like see if you twist it too far, it'll pop right off. They actually can turn their heads and look around, and have a little bit of up and down movement, not much, but it is there. So they're a little limited, but they do have articulated heads. They've got the same universal shoulders. They've got the same hinge and swivel at the elbow. Now, the wrists don't have a hinge in them. The wrists do swivel, but because they're so small, there's no hinge for other movement. On some of their poses, especially holding the guns, these sleeve cuffs can kind of get in the way. This hand actually had to pop out in order to get this blunderbuss into there. But they do have waist swivels, which is kind of nice. And their legs, you can see it's hollow up in there. There is some movement in the legs up at the hip. Other than that, the legs appear to have no articulation. I don't see any joints at the ankle or up there at the knee. But again, they can move at the hip, and I guess that gives them a little bit of movement to sit flat with their feet in different poses. But the robes they're a soft rubber, but they're all one piece, so there's not a whole lot of movement you're going to be able to get out of the legs, but they are individually articulated. And same over here on Dick Jr. All the same articulation. He's got the same movement at the hip on the leg, but again, the robes. Now, they each come with a small pistol, which you can see Dick Jr. holding here, and then like 2 different types of blunderbuss. Now, Dick can hold, they can hold either blunderbuss. There's a thin part of the handle for them to hold it. His holster is specifically built for the small pistol, like this. Neither blunderbuss will fit in here. Dick Jr.'s holster is too big for the small pistols, so I have him holding that, but it does have a seam in the middle so you can fit, and even a hole at the bottom so you can fit the blunderbuss in there and have the end of that stick out, so you can have him carry that in his little pouch. He can also, again, he can hold it in his hand if you wish it, but I like that they made Because at first I didn't realize it was split, and I was like, how are you going to fit anything in there? Because the hole down here is way too small for this end, for the end of this blunderbuss to come out. But it actually opens up and wraps around. You see, you open it up like that, pull the blunderbuss out, he can hold it, and then you just kind of open that up, push it through just so that thin part is where the hole is, and then close it back up around it. And he can carry that down there. So yeah, there's my little mayhem squad of doom in my doom. I didn't even think about that when I said it. But yeah, so there's some Star Wars black figures. Like I said, they're new. They're at Walmart. I've seen him. I know he's been out for a while. The Doom character. He came in a case assortment with like Clone Commander Wolf and Clone Commander Generek. But I haven't not physically seen him in a store, and then I found this end cap. They had him, they had the 2-pack of Jawas, they had a C-3PO that you can kind of pull some panels off of and see his wiring. They had Han Solo, and with a carbonite thing, I guess you can clip him into the back of the carbonite like you could on the old figures. They had Leia as Bausch. They had some generic Rebel Commander guys, one of the TIE Fighter, not TIE Fighter, X-Wing fighter pilots. I can't remember his name. And they had a Darth Vader with just like a kind of triangular section of his faceplate that could pop out, and you could see Luke's face underneath, like from when he had that vision on Dagobah. So there's a whole couple of waves of new figures out on the end cap at Walmart. It's a big gray end cap. You can't miss it if you're looking for it. So yeah, there's Clone Commander Doom and the Jawa 2-pack from the Star Wars Black. Again, I might get some of the new movie figures. I definitely want to get one of the First Order Stormtroopers at some point. I like Star Wars. I don't collect a lot of the Star Wars toys, so there's not going to be a whole lot more of these coming. But these were like Doom I was specifically looking for, and the Jawas were just too neat to pass up. So I figured I'd pick them up. So yeah, keep your eye out if you're looking for Star Wars figures. They're going to hit en masse. I think September 4th at midnight is when everybody's going to be going nuts, and all the new Force Awakens toys are going to be out. I know Toys R Us has a countdown locally. Anyway, that's all. Just wanted to show those off.